Welcome to the part 3 of the missing people and the causes and forces behind it. I want to apologize for the last video, the soundtrack on the beginning of that video. I didn't know there was a fan running in the background and the microphone was picking up that sound. Another thing is, I have sometimes a very weird sense of humor, so I am what I am. One thing, you will see me in this shirt a lot. Let me explain the reason. When I saw that, I really liked it. I grabbed a few of them. So now I have them. So basically I am constantly wearing them. So you understand that. Speaking of the weird sense of humor, I decided never to grow old. I'm not allowed. The other thing is, in my house, it's illegal to be old. There is a punishment for that. Don't know what yet, but well, we'll figure out. So today's video is a little bit different than the one before. I'm going to be talking about serious stuff. Something that you already know, and lots of people already know, religious people know that. However, I know that science, as I mentioned that already, is not going to go near that stuff, even though there are people investigating that. They are doing their own different terms. There are institutions that are involved in this, and they investigate this very thoroughly. But this is not public funding. This is, let's leave it for now. Okay, so let's go to the subject of today's video, and please wait to the end. On the end, I have something very interesting to share with you about financial world. Okay, so let's go. This image was posted by suspicious observers a few days ago. Things like that are going to be happening more often. They are connected to the changes of the magnetic field of the Earth, the reversal. Also, they have connection to disappearances, how the energy fields are operating and working. Sometimes animals will appear from nowhere, so will humans, and so on. I will explain that when I am going to present my view on the reversal with details. Before you continue, one more thing. You deserve to know why science is so resistant to investigate the forces and the causes behind disappearances. This video by Ghada Chehade explains a lot what is happening in science and the crisis in all areas. So I am going to leave you a link below this video, and you can go and see it yourself. Then you will better understand why do we have what we have. I am sure that many of you heard about those famous disappearances, not only in Bermuda Triangle, but all over the world, where groups of people or planes, boats were disappearing. One of the things that I remember from mid-80s or early 90s was that 11 bicycle riders in France just vanished in a thick fog, and they never appeared back. I was trying to find that somewhere on the internet, however I can't, so I am only passing to you what I know. The other evidence that is available to everyone, that is not a secret, people know going to the mountains that there is a lot of static electricity on basically every single mountain. Yet this is something that everyone is ignoring, not even looking into this. However, that should be investigated, how this might be connected to that. Like, for example, not far from volcanoes, people are disappearing. Mountains will have lots of granite, where there are streams, where there are rivers flowing right through the places. That should be a big giant clue for those that want to investigate. However, no one is looking into that, which is to me really puzzle. However, I need to correct something. By saying no one, that means the mainstream science as we know it, yes, not, but there are people that do investigate. This is under a different category. This is done by institutions that are using different budget. They are using it for different reasons, and most of that stuff is classified. They actually understand why people are disappearing and what is happening in those cases, as you will see in a minute. As I mentioned, that the fog that people disappeared in France, the 11 bikers. That fog is also mentioned in many stories from sailors all over the world. They go on the sea and then suddenly they are surrounded with this strange fog that is glittering and is sometimes very problematic to breathe, is irritating their throats and noses. And many boats show up from that fog empty. There are no humans on board. There are far more incidents in that fog than we know. However, they are not reported because mainstream media is not interested in this subject, or perhaps they are told not to report them. That's why you don't know very much about that. I am going to leave a link to this. You can see what the electric fog is. Electric fog is something that I am aware from very long time, and it is something that can be produced by devices. That was done during our days of Atlantis, where we were having floating gardens, floating cities using that. Surprise! But as you know, science is not going to come close to that. The fog can lift hundreds of millions of tons with ease, no problem. Now let's switch gears. I'm going to tell you something here that you are probably familiar with all the sightings of Mary, Mohammed, Moses, you name it. All kinds of saints were reported. Here you have just an excerpt from the what happened in France. This is one of the most famous. That girl was 14 years old. She was in puberty. At that time, young bodies, they accelerate the energy fields and they are adjusting the chakras. Therefore, it is very easy to be sensitive to any magnetic changes in the field. As you can see, the sighting happened in the grotto, and there is a reason for that. There is most of the places where things happen is mountains, top hills, hilltops, grottos, riverbanks, where there is lots of electricity flowing, where there are the filaments, there are the connections, where the Birkeland currents are causing the swirling. That's where the things are present. You can see here there was also something from La Salette, where the same thing. Usually when that happens, the young person that is present in that sighting is called to approach closer to the person that is showing up from the other side. At that moment, there is a very strange feeling of a complete peace, this overwhelming joy and what's not. However, they are in most cases not asked to step into the field. They are asked to stay a few feet away from that apparition. Usually the conversation goes like that. Please step forward. I want to tell you something important. Sometimes they ask to show up on a specific day at specific time for the second time, where they passed the message to them, just to see if that person that is involved is trustworthy, if they keep their word of coming back and they are willing to participate in this. Because believe it or not, whoever the being is from the other side, they understand the consequences of that happening. And when the message is passed, usually is like this. There is approaching more or less that the words are going to be like that. There is approaching a time of hardship and pain. I am advising you to inform your people in your village, in your tribe, or whatever, that there might be either drought or flood or whatever. Tell them this so they have time to prepare for what's coming. There is never a mention of prayer or building a church or repent or what's not. Those young people, usually they are passing the message as they received, exactly word by word. But strangely enough, there is right away a bunch of people showing up. They call them the handlers, and they usually are taking care of the dealing with the public. The person that is involved in the sighting, in the apparition, does not deal directly. Usually this is going down through the handlers, and they sometimes do. I don't have to tell you, there is a reason why they do what they do. You remember the case from Medjugorje in former Yugoslavia, where this happened right before. It was a few years prior to the war in Balkans. You need to understand that at that time the energy was already changing, so to support the events that were happening over there. At the same time, someone showed up to inform them that there is going to be a hardship and they should prepare, let people know that they are at crossroads, and perhaps it would be a good idea, they still have time to stop hating each other and make a peace with each other or try to cooperate. Usually when the handlers, because every time there is someone from the church or the men in suits show up, then they take care of that. They usually groom the young people what to say in public, if they are allowed to speak in public. And usually the relationship between media and those people is through those handlers, and they are good at what they do, so I don't need to explain that to you. There's billions of dollars invested in this, so believe me, they really know what they are doing. Another apparition was in Rwanda. You remember there was the genocide, millions of people were slaughtered. Same thing, someone stepped forward, because once the preparation is for so many people to depart, the energy is on the rise, and when the energy is on the rise, usually someone is nearby, and out of sheer caring for those people, many times someone will show up and they will deliver the message the way I am telling you. Please advise your people, your tribe, or whatever, that there is approaching hardship and there might be a pain and blood and so on. There is still time. You can guys work the things on, and you can avoid this whole thing. If you think it's necessary, by all means. But if you think you can work the things, the differences between you two, or between the tribes, or between the government and what's not, then things are gonna improve. Usually the handlers turn this thing upside down and they say, oh, they need to pray, they need to repent, because there is going to be God's punishment, the Mary is going to punish them, and this kind of psychological nonsense just to scare people even more. That's not necessary, but that's how those handlers are working. In India, strangely, we have places where there are remnants of gateways or gates where the appearances of Vishnu or Shiva was happening, and they are still active today. Even though I am showing you here the image from Pravel Mohan video, that gate is broken, but still is emitting at specific times. It blasts lots of magnetic energy. People are not allowed to go there. This is fenced off. Before it was not, and people were taking cameras and cell phones there. Usually they malfunction over there. Now people cannot go close to that, because it happened that people were fainting. There was lots of accidents there, so This is already not 4. You can see that side, you can view that from distance, but you cannot take any equipment with you because you are in danger. They call that Stargate. That is evidence, that's the proof that the connection between two realities, the band of frequencies, is possible. It was possible and it is possible. I am sure you remember this one. I am going to dedicate a specific video to this because that is something that needs to be covered. However, I am hoping that church finally is going to come clean and they will tell people what actually happened. The 108 is ending, so by the end of year 2026, the church has time to explain that. Lucy, which was kept she was basically in prison. She was captive for her whole life, even though she did nothing wrong. She was kept with nuns. She could not leave. She was a prisoner. When she died, the men in suits show up at her place. They search every inch of her belongings to make sure that she didn't pass any information to the world what actually happened. I can only briefly tell you this. This is related to, yes, you guessed it, the polar reversal. The situation in few years is going to be so drastic, so disgusting, so daring, that finally someone decided, guys, we need to go back to 1917 and warn people what is going to happen in 2030, I believe, or 2000, whatever, somewhere around that date. When the children saw the video that was shown to them on a tablet or laptop, I don't remember what the guy was showing them the video on. There were the screenshots from 9/11 and all what was happening, what is about to happen, how bad the situation is. And their job was to inform the people in that village, to spread the message all over the world so people can kind of start working together, get their act together. That didn't happen. Very quickly, men in suits show up, church show up, and this whole thing went upside down. They took Lucy into custody and she could not speak to the media herself. She was speaking through them. And they collaborated on what happened, and they, of course, put that into that the Mary show up and the miracle. I can explain that. I will explain that in my video dedicated to this. I don't want to overstep the boundaries. I don't want to rob church of the opportunity to come clean about that. They already know that 108, that means 2026 is the final date that they were given. They were actually told if they keep what they did secret, then church will stop exist. I guess they don't care. I don't know. That's up to them. Now, here I am having a few snapshots of what artists did, how they painted the images, the visions of the people that were involved in such things. Where you see the arrows, the people that were involved in this, they actually saw that. Why? Because each apparition is surrounded with this glow, this fiery thing, like it's shimmering, it's very bright. That means actually the person saw that. In India, in carvings, they do the fire or around the Shiva or Vishnu. So you can see that the similarity between the Christian apparitions and what happened there. The contact with the gods in India was much more frequent. They were showing up very often. They interact with people and they were depicting it this way. Study the carvings. You notice the head is covered with specific helmet. You can see on the chest there is something very unusual to manipulate all the chakras. This whole dress I don't have the snapshot of the whole thing, but when you see something like that, just pay attention to details. They are telling this being is a human that is coming, crossing from a different reality to this. But because of the frequency over there, they need to be protected from the frequency over here. Because they are in danger, they wouldn't survive too long if they didn't have their own field with them. Okay, so you understand that. You are the people that I am telling that, and you know that now. This is not fiction. Those things are real, and I will show you more stuff from India, and I will show you the carvings and explain what they mean, which mainstream media doesn't give a rat's ass, but there are people above the mainstream science that they are paying attention. They already decoded this thing. They know what that is, how we operate. Earth is, as I already mentioned, a prison made by humans, and it's a nursery for characters. Right now you are in a class where the graduation is around the corner, and you need to work out a little bit. We all need to work out a little bit to get the grades, but no one is grading us, but we are grading ourselves. So here is one more image depicting that. This is exactly how that looks. When you are in present, it may happen to you. Never know. Pay attention. Every time the being is showing up on this side is barefoot. All of them. Every single one of them, no matter who it is. The visual, how you interpret who that is up to you, because they don't wear clothes like that. This is the artist's imagination. They usually they contain either female energies or male energies, but they do not have any specific names assigned. Usually they are barefoot, they are surrounded with a fiery, glittering substance or plasma, I don't know. They usually have capes on them, and or they are wearing all kinds of jewelry on them and head coverings, because that's necessary for them to be safe in this reality. Here is something that I am going to tell you that is going to shock you. This is from the temple of Abydos in Egypt. How do you think this carving ended up there with such a precision, representing the helicopters, the planes, the U-boat, and other elements? This is not accident. Those people saw them. They are aware of them. Many of those that disappeared end up in that time. They are thousands of years away from here. They are still alive. And it's thanks to those people that those depictions were possible. Another explanation might be that someone from that time show up here. They notice what is happening in our times, and they are leaving clues for us to let us know what they know and how this world is working. They do understand that only few will decode that. The only few are going to understand what this is all about. This is not for everyone. Our job, people like me and others who figure out this whole thing, is to teach people, but not to dump a lot of stuff at one time, because that's very unhealthy and usually causes a lot of problems. Therefore, the messages need to be done in small doses and need to be supported with as much evidence, so they either are believable or then person can investigate further to see if this is viable. Here is something that is even more bizarre. They found the Siberia, the maiden. That was the frozen mummy that no one bothers, or maybe they already did, run the DNA against missing people, because I understand why this mummy was made that way, why this lady died at the age about 30. she's most likely from our times, and she understood that when they preserve her body, then one day someone may actually accidentally run the DNA and find out who she really was from our times. I hope that someone watching this video has brains and has people that may influence that somehow, because that's what I would do. If I had the resources and influential people on my team, I would say, guys, take the DNA, run this against all the missing people in database and see what is going to come up. Because there are lots of clues in the findings of her grave and the finding in that tomb, and of the elements that the clothing, the jewelry that she had with her, that she might not be from that time. That might be someone that was living with them for a little bit and then she died. Suspicion is breast cancer, but I am suspecting that the germs of that time were the culprit killing her. Here is a depiction. I chose this image because I don't have any better, and I can explain to you, if you find yourself in a situation where you are somewhere in investigating caves or mountains, you are on a hiking trip or somewhere in the wild, you may come across something like this. It's not exactly like that, but there is going to be two sources of light, and there is going to be a being in the middle. Usually those sources on the side, they are for safety reason, and they are simply watching what is happening. That being cannot step forward very close to you, because once you find yourself in that field, you are goner. So the people, some of them, not all of them, some people more or less saw something like this before disappearing. When you enter the field, your perception completely changed, your awareness completely changed. There is such overwhelming peace and enjoyment that you don't want to go back anymore. You are gonna be pleading to go with that being. That happened to a gentleman that was someone in high rank in the Catholic Church, that was on some kind of conference, and they found him butt naked, kneeling, and of course dead. No scratches, nothing, and the toxicology shows that he died happy. There was no trauma or anything at all. If you see something like that, you can imagine you would do the same thing. There was a boy, autistic boy, 11 or 12 years old, that died not far from his home. They were looking for him for weeks. They couldn't find him, and then finally they found him sitting against the tree facing his home. That area was searched multiple times and no one saw him. When they found him, the clothing was very clean, he was barefoot, and he was happy. Of course, he was dead. The toxicology didn't show anything at all, and the puzzle was that he died happy and he just left the body, which puzzles or usually the coroner how this is possible. That death was on a request of that boy, because once he found himself in this field, he just decided it's time to leave, but out of respect for his parents, he left his body so they had closure. So he left the body intact, with the clothing not torn or bruised or whatever. That's what those people do. There was a story about Hunter that he the same thing, no socks, no shoes, sitting on the bank of the river in peaceful position, no drama, nothing. Toxicology shows no poison. Died happy. The same thing, the person decided to just leave, because what we know about life and death is just complete nonsense. We were conditioned to believe that death is something terrible, but if you go back about 3,000 years ago or even 2,000 years ago, people understand at that time
that is nothing more than transition, and you have two bodies. The primary body goes and lives. You don't die. You only leave the physical body behind. The temple where you were residing temporary is useless, so that's why the body has to, be decomposed. But your primary body, you go with them. For a while you wear the astral costume with you, which has the chakras and what's not connected to that. And after a while, even that is going to dissipate, and then you are just the astral body. And then there are further transitions to higher levels, but that's not the subject of this video. So remember, if you see something like that, just remember, leave some closure for the people when you are missing. Let them know that you are safe and what's not. As I mentioned, there are going to be more and more disappearances. There are going to be not just one, two, but in the past, before magnetic problems like 3,000 years ago, or even earlier, you will find stories where the whole villages were vanishing, or people were appearing from somewhere nobody knew from where they came. There are stories in every almost country where the giants went to sleep into the mountains, and then the giants wake up at some certain time. Usually people tell when this is going to be happening. Apparently it's supposed to happen at the end of times. They are going to be fighting something. I don't know what that is. So that is everything associated with the missing people. This is all associated with appearances, because there are lots of appearances of strange animals, humans that nobody ever saw them before. There are countless stories about that, which most of them are classified.
One of his feet is clearly on the pedal. If you look closely, you can even see the pedal underneath. There are two wheels. This is clearly a bicycle.
Yes, the last part, that was bicycle, carved in one of those temples in India. I'm going to leave a link below so you can go and see it yourself. As I promised, on the end of this video, I am going to share something with you which is something personal, but at the same time I feel like I can share that with you. There are two things. One is stuff that was presented to me by my ex. She is very gifted. I just wish that she can use the gift that she has much more constructive way. We have all our own challenges. In that vision, she told me many years ago, there is a pit in the middle of somewhere. From four sides down to the pit there are escalators. And she's standing on one of them, and each time she put the foot on it, the escalator goes down. She knows she's not supposed to be there, she's not supposed to go down there, but somehow there is something that is, she's drawn to that. Down all those four escalators, there are falling jewelries, diamonds, gold, money, everything is tumbling down, going to the pit. On the bottom of the pit, there is a slushy, gooey stuff. And right in the middle there is standing an athlete holding a trophy high, and with the other hand he's pushing away people, because the people are trying to take him down into that mud and drown him or something. There's a lot of bodies there. People are tumbling through those, going down on those stairs, on those escalators. They are falling down completely to the bottom. Some are trying to escape and climb up to the edges of the pit. On the outside, there is a nice, beautiful scenery, and there are people of light, beings of light standing all around it. And they are looking at this whole thing, and each time someone is climbing up to the edge, they are willing to help, but out of that pit, other person is pulling them down, and they basically constantly are trying to get down. Some of them going for the money, some of them just pulling others down. And finally, one of those voices of those beings said, there is no hope for them anymore. You can translate that in any way you want. I think this is very educational. I know that this is a wheel which she saw because I had other elements associated with that. And now it's mine. Right now it's the frenzy of money, Bitcoin and what's not, is going through the roof. You need to understand that many years ago there was this frenzy about the .com. Just go research, see, use the Google and search what that was, how many people lost everything. Similar situation is right now. How this is going to end, I am not in the position to give you advice on the financial situation or dealings or what's not, but I am going to present to you something that was presented to me. During one of my times out, I was somewhere either in front of National Treasury or Supreme Court. I remember I was standing on the bottom of the stairs were going up. I remember those pillars, and I was very confused. I had no idea what I'm doing there, what's the meaning of that. Then suddenly from behind one of those pillars, one man showed up, older man, and I believe he was holding a cigar in his hand. And soon after there was another man that emerged from behind the column. And as I am looking at them, I have a bad feeling in my stomach. I know that I'm not supposed to be there, I'm not supposed to see that. And one of them is taking a pile of money from his pocket. He took that cigar and put the pile of money on fire, and he threw down the stairs. The other guy took another bunch of money that were nicely wrapped. He took a lighter, lit them up, threw them down the stairs. And then they were taking from the pockets golden coins, silver coins. They were started throwing them down the stairs. And believe me, at that point I was scared of my life because I am not supposed to see that. That's really terrible what I am seeing, and most likely because of what I see, they are gonna kill me. So I was trying to move, but I couldn't move a muscle. The only thing I could move, it was my eyes. So I tried to not to look at them. However, one of them just looked straight into my eyes, and he was trying to just determine what my intentions are. I didn't feel that he is hostile. What the feeling was from both of them, that I'm supposed to see that. They were letting me know something. And I'm going to end this right here because I don't want to give you too many details. You need to figure out this whole situation on your own, because it's very dangerous if it comes to money, to tell the truth. So you have those two visions. You do with that whatever you want to do. I think you're smart people. You're gonna figure out. I am going to end this video here. The next video is going to be about my personal experience with something very unusual happened, and it's related to the disappearances. And then I am going to summarize basically the elements that are involved in all those disappearances, so you will have a better picture of what it is. I am just very disappointed that people are not willing to investigate that further, to know the Earth. They are trying to conquer space, but they have no idea what's here, the Earth. No clue. Now reversal is coming. Even those people that are presenting the ideas of what we should do and how we should do, they are taking people completely different direction. I will do, after the second video that is coming after this, I'm going to focus on the reversal, so you will have better insight in this whole thing. Alright? So, if you like the videos, please like it. If you didn't subscribe yet, please do subscribe. And of course, please do share this video. Alright, so thank you for watching, for being patient with me, and see you in the next video.